Howdy, howdy, howdy. Dave Duford here at DeFord Insurance Group. We're doing it live. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me on another one of these YouTube live streams where I get to do some real life in-person training with you, at least in a virtual capacity, on teaching you all things final expense sales. Today's wonderful training is going to be focusing on final expense closing tactics that really work. So let me give you a rundown as far as what to expect here. So, of course, everybody's interested in how to close more final expense business, how to do it strategically to where one can get more sales on the books to help more families, help more people, and make more money, right? So what we're going to be talking about today is essentially all of that in context of how to do that. And some high notes we're going to hit on here to start with to kind of just tease to you what to expect. First of all, we're going to be talking about why closing really should be the easiest part of the final expense telesales presentation. A lot of people make a big deal out of it. It's not really that big of a deal, really. And I'm going to explain to you why that's the case in context with the entirety of how you really should be selling. Also, we're going to talk about the psychology of the prospect, of what the client is thinking at the close, the things that are going through the client's mind, the things you need to be aware of, and how to strategically deal with that to overcome some of that resistance and concern that they have right at the end of the sale. We're then actually going to go through the script itself. I'm going to verbally give it to you, how we close, and kind of put it all together for you so you can just pause, copy this stuff, use it on your own as well. And then, of course, no close is complete without dealing with objections. So I'm going to give you a simple strategy to overcome those objections that you hear at the end of your pitch when the client doesn't say, yes, I want that one. So the goal of this is to, again, empower you with knowledge and training so that you can overcome the natural resistance everybody has, to a certain extent, to commit, to make a commitment, and so that you can help them, you can help your family, and you can make this business a successful career. So some side notes here. Hey, everybody. Hey now. Thanks so much for joining me. Andrea, Eric, Don, Kevin, and everybody else. Appreciate you guys being here live. We do this every Tuesday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You're always welcome just to jump in and see what we're doing. Of course, we're talking about closing final expense today. And this is also relevant telesales or face-to-face, just in case somebody's wondering. Please consider hitting the thumbs up button if you enjoy this kind of content. This helps the algorithm share my content with other agents out there who may not be getting quality training. That's always a concern many people have. So if you decide to hit the like button, thank you. I appreciate you. It absolutely is being recorded, Don. You will be able to watch this in the future at your leisure. Okay. So let's get started from the top. So again, I like to start my training. My agents know who are listening to this. They know I like to kind of talk about things in a meta context, a big picture context, right? And then break down the scripting based off of the kind of psychological state and the big picture and scenario that we're in. There's not enough training on the why we do things the way we do it in the sales process. So I like to commit a lot of my time trying to explain to you the psychology and the why of what's happening, because what I feel, as a side note, you're going to be more compliant and actually following through in this stuff if you understand what's going on, right? You could take the script and just run with it like everybody says you should, but a lot of us wonder, well, why would I say this or that? I got a problem with this. I don't normally say that. Should I say this instead? Well, this is kind of what we're going to be doing in the closing part, at least. It's giving you some bigger picture understanding of why things are done the way they are, and which will hopefully lead you to actually doing it more often, right? Oh, by the way, too, I will be doing some questions here. You will, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. I will get to them. They can be about closing. They can be about anything final expense related or selling insurance related. So I definitely welcome those questions. Throw them in the chat. If it's something prevalent or relevant right away, I'll answer it. If not, I'll just save it for later, okay, at the end of the training. Okay, so here's the thing about how closing should be. There is this psychology about how to approach the close. This is certainly, if you are in the sales training world, the most, if you make content around closing, it gets the most eyeballs, it gets the most attention. Everybody wants to know how to close better. They want to make more sales, right? And so there's a lot more attention around the closing strategy. The problem is that it doesn't warrant the amount of attention that it should get. There are other parts of the sales presentation which, frankly, audience out there doesn't really care as much about, but they absolutely should exponentially more than the close. And here's where I'm going with this. The old way in which we used to sell, and when I say we, it's not me, I'm not that old, but think 1950s, 60s, the modern industrial era where salesmanship was a big component to getting product out there to the masses. It was a very front-loaded, pressure of focus type of sale. You didn't pre-qualify a lot. You figured getting into this, you would be hearing no multiple times before the sixth or seventh time you'd hear a yes. And there's a big emphasis on closing and how that was the most important element. You would do the Ben Franklin close. You would do the ABC close, the good, better, best close, and you do all these different closes together. And then somehow, some way, after you've beaten your client down to a pulp, they would submit and finally buy. Of course, times have changed. And this whole approach to closing has essentially been inverted on its head. And I actually think this is a good thing, because closing for the sake of closing without really paying much attention to the needs or desires of the client is an unintelligent, unsophisticated way to close that doesn't really get that good results for final expense agents anyway. Part of the problem that we run into, and why this is related to closing, is that your client isn't closed per se when you actually write the deal, right? I mean, most of you don't collect the premium up front, so there's time that they could cancel it. Certainly, if the client keeps the plan, at any point they could cancel it, right? So there are hundreds of days typically before your advance clears where you have a chargeback risk, right? So I think all of this speaks to, it's very important to strategically think about how you close. Because in the way that you close, is going to have a direct, I believe, correlation with how well you keep the policy on the books and certainly satisfy what it is that the client should want. Plus, as some of the old guys here old pros, the OGs out there that have sold for years and years and years, selling in a high-pressure type of strategy is emotionally grating. It takes a lot of emotional energy to fight and engage the client in an adversarial type of situation. And the frank matter of the final expense business, much less any sales business, is it is an emotional toil. It's really an emotional head game at the end of the day. And the people who can maintain their mindset and focus and control their emotions the best through the ups and the downs are the ones that are going to be slated to have the most success in this business. And having a very grating, aggressive type of close adds more head trash to the already collection that you have, right? It makes this job more difficult than it needs to. So that's the old way. Well, what's the new way, Dave? What's the better way to close? Well, the better way to close is to essentially only close those people who are qualified to buy, okay? In other words, how you close is directly correlated with how you open. And what I mean by that is you don't want to be in a situation where you don't get to the close without knowing well in advance that this client has desire, they have need, they have a bank account, they got a budget they can work with, their health qualifies, and they believe in the type of product, in this case, simplified issue whole life, final expense that you're selling. There's no need to close a person who doesn't fit that. Why? Because the odds aren't in your favor for them to buy. And the truth of the matter is, it's not what you sell in this business. It's not what you close in this business. It's what you keep over the long term, right? I've heard of stories of agents who worked for XYZ agency, and they were the biggest salespeople that wrote the most business, but they also had the biggest lapse rates on top of that because they took this kind of mindset of heavy-handed closing tactics, and they didn't understand and appreciate and respect the fact that what pays in this business are policies that stay on the books, right? So a lot of the close needs to respect that. And the better way to close people is when you know that they've knocked off every box that's necessary to qualify them as a qualified prospect. And we're going to talk about that actually on tomorrow's program with pre-qualifying, because I think very much how you close is contingent and directly related to how you close. So it's hard to have a closing conversation without having an opening conversation too. So we're going to talk about that more tomorrow so we can kind of put all of this into context, okay? So where I'm going with this close, again, by its very nature, is correlated with how we pre-qualify. So understand that your life will be made simpler if you only close people who are actually qualified. And what about the people that aren't qualified, Dave? Do you close them? Absolutely not. I don't waste any time with those people. Why? Because they're just not qualified. They're a low odds chance of buying. And my numbers, the way they are, if I spend time, and yours are likely like this too, or will be, if you spend time trying to push product on somebody who just doesn't have budget, who doesn't have need, or who doesn't have desire, and you've tried earnestly, strategically to build all of this, then you're going to be frustrated. They're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. And it's likely your close ratio is going to suffer precipitously, as well as all that head trash that you've accumulated as well. So what's the point of all this? The point is, from a high-level standpoint, the best advice I can give you is to only close and deal with the close with people who are qualified, okay, that meet all your criteria of buying. This business gets immensely easier, and the emotional toll gets much less so when you realize this, and then it'll also dawn on you that you don't pitch people at all who aren't qualified, and therefore you only spend the majority of your time with those people who are, because those are where your odds are in your favor, and you're going to get the most success out of working your leads in that way. Okay, so now I've kind of set up the big picture stuff here. I think this is pretty important. So let's continue to talk about some of the psychology your prospect is going through. Again, I'd like to set the high-level stuff first before we're getting to the script, because I need you to understand what's going on in the head of the prospect. Now you know kind of what's going on, generally speaking, from a strategic standpoint. Let's get into the mind of the prospect and understand kind of what they're thinking in the moments up to the point where you try to take their money, right? So what do you think the client is feeling at the end of the sales presentation? Regardless of whether you do my presentation or somebody else, it's likely you're to a point to where the client knows that, commitment is coming. The client is getting to the point where they feel a tide change has happened. You're showing the company. You're telling the prices. You're getting them excited about the product. You've shown them the differences. They know the question's coming. What do you want to get? Who do you want to go with? Or something's coming that's going to ask for their commitment. And I believe as we get closer to these circumstances where the buying action happens, with a lot of our clients, the anxiety level starts to increase, and the worry about making a commitment starts to exponentially become real. All of this has been fun, but now it's time to give my money over. And the truth is, prospects have fears of commitment, right? We all have fears of commitment, because commitment is kind of the line in the sand that you cross. Once you cross it, you're bought in. You're a man or a woman of your word. You're now on top of this thing, a part of this thing, and there's no going back. It's a step up in a different direction, and it's completely different than doing the walk side of this. Now you're doing the talk side, or the talk side versus now the walk side, right? So all of this is to say what's going on in the mind of the prospect. The prospect is feeling fear, doubt, concern, second thoughts, wondering if they really should do this. The seeds of doubt are starting to sprout. And it's your job as a salesperson, through the script, through the performance of the script, to overcome those beginning sproutlings of doubt and to double down on your belief and conviction and explaining to the client through the script and your performance of the script that this is the best choice for them. So let me give you some pro tips here, kind of, again, big picture, and then I promise we're going to go through the script and cover how to actually apply all of these strategies all together. So the number one thing, you guys, you can do here, and this is likely going to be your problem too, closing, especially if you're new. You know what's coming too. You got to ask them to do something. And some people out there, some of you all out there, have a problem, a real problem, asking people to do things for you, like buy my stuff. Okay. Again, that's a whole different training altogether. The short of it is just do it anyway. They want you to tell them what to do, believe it or not. And the last thing you want to do is start to show a lack of confidence, to start getting anxious yourself. So the number one thing, probably 80% of this, okay, at the close, like it is through the rest of the presentation, you must exude confidence. As you go through the script, you must deliver it in a powerful fashion so the client understands that you believe in what it is that you're telling them, that you believe what your options are here are the best, And what they will pick up from that is this just basic human reaction that this guy he really believes this is right for me. And that will instill, reciprocally speaking, confidence in them, confidence in themselves to make the right decision, that this person really believes that this is the best. And I'm going to parlay off of that belief because I feel confident in my agent because he feels confident in this, right? So you got to be confident. If you sound mealy-mouthed, you sound unconfident, you sound anxious, you may just be nervous because you're getting to the close. But unfortunately, our prospects may feel it means that you lack the conviction or belief in it yourself, and that maybe this guy or gal is trying to hide something that I need to be aware of. And they get a little skeptical themselves, and you get to a position where they're slightly pressured. And maybe it's not a good fit, right? And that's why confidence is everything. Okay, so when you're practicing your presentation, when you're actually giving your presentation, do you sound like somebody who is confident and convicted that this product you're selling them is the best choice for them? If you don't sound like it, they'll catch up to it. And a lot of them that would have bought won't. Okay. Second thing here is simplify the decision-making process. So we only do one type of close here at DeFord Insurance Group. I've only ever taught one type of close. Well, I've taught one a long time ago. But our primary strategy that I've closed probably 1,500 policies on personally and taught thousands of agents to do the same is what's called the good, better, best close. Okay, it's the only close you ever need to do in this business. We're going to do some advanced training on it here in a little bit with the 3-option close, some new stuff that I've developed to really up your case average size without pressuring the client to buy. So stick around for that because that's going to be really good. But if you don't know what the good, better, best close is, very simple. You just show the client 3 options and the price range that they've indicated. You don't have to do a budget earlier on in the presentation like what we do. We teach that. Again, we'll train that tomorrow on the pre-qualifying, so make sure you stick around for that. But the strategy here is you just show them 3 options, a good, better, best option, and they've got 3 choices to choose from. And then it becomes very easy because there's a lack of clutter and confusion. The idea of options isn't that much there. There's options, but not too many, because there's this sense of illusion that you get with options. Like, nobody wants a buying experience like Starbucks. You know, I don't know why people would think it'd be good to have 50 million drinks or beverages and the custom tailor it. It works for them, but for salespeople, it doesn't. You need less. Some salespeople just have 2 options. But the idea is to just form clarity around what options you have so that it becomes easy to buy. You don't want to do like 5 different choices. You don't want to do a cacophony of different things and make the buying process complicated. People are confused as it is with insurance. Make it simple for them. Show them a couple of options only and stick to those options. And we'll kind of, again, build on that in a little bit of how to do that better. The other thing that I want to clarify here for you final expense agents, please don't go into the sale and show them multiple carriers. You could do business with Foresters. You could also do it with Americo. Here's how this product works. Here's how that product works. And then there's also this other third product. Let me show you 9 different good, better, best options, and then let you choose. Guess what the prospect's going to be? The prospect's going to be like frustrated, irritated, and the more that they've got to think about, the more that confusion will possibly set in. And the more likelihood that they just won't choose because it's too much to think about. And again, this is a human characteristic of all people. I'll give you a quick story here. I was down, I'm a bum. You know, I dress like this normally. I don't have a suit. So my wife was like, you probably get a suit. Easter's coming up. I wanted to get a custom tailored suit, right? So I went down to the local tailor, Yakubians, downtown Chattanooga. Very nice place. Definitely recommend it. I don't know anything about clothes, clearly, as you can tell. Just t-shirt and, shorts kind of guy. They were the experts. I didn't want to get into this, here's 50 million options thing. So I sat down with the salesperson, the tailor or whatever he's called. And he proceeded to show me 15 different, colors. I'm like, just navy blue. Keep it simple for me. Show me this particular type of brand. So he brought a couple of brands, showed me 2 options. I picked that one, tried on a few different things. I needed some shoes, brought me 2 pairs of shoes to decide. I looked at one or the other, and I just wanted to make the decision and be done with it, okay? And I left the place spending more money than I thought I would, but I was satisfied because I got this thing done in like less than an hour, and I didn't want to deliberate because my mind is full of making decisions all day long, as our clients are too. And so the point is that the easier you can make the buying decision, the less attrition there is, the less resistance there is, the easier it is to actually going to be making the sale, okay? So that's just people. And again, the more you can play to that, and again, you'll see here in the scripting, which we do in a minute, how that all plays out, the better your offer is going to be. The last thing here before we get into the script is you got to make recommendations. You see, you have morphed from when you first started as the intro to the sales presentation. Again, this is applicable over the phone or face-to-face. You were an unwelcome pest. The client let you in. You know, they don't really like salespeople, but they sent the card back. They requested the information, right? So they're just going to do their part and listen to you. But through the process of building value, rapport, authority, showing the differences, educating the client, you have kind of metamorphosized like a worm into a butterfly, and now have become a welcome guest in their home. You're at a different psychological advantage at the end of the sales call than you are at the beginning, especially if you follow a strategy like ours that is front-loaded and built on building value with the client and having a conversation versus a pressure play. And what happens is the client wants you to make recommendations. They look at you more of as an advisor than a salesperson. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? And what your unique situation is right now is you can tell them what to do, and they won't resent it for you. In fact, they want you to tell them what to do. I'm sure there are salespeople out there listening to this right now. Maybe you sold insurance or some other product, and you can validate this as true. When you've done a really good job of helping the client out, they ask you, so what do you think I should do? They will literally ask you, what do you think's best? Because they recognize that you're the expert, and they're just a consumer, and they're trying to lean on the expertise of somebody who isn't thought of now as just a peddling salesperson, but an advisor of sorts. So there are a couple of things that we'll show you in the scripting here where we clearly make recommendations and explain why we do when we talk about the company we recommend, and then also the options of which to buy, okay? Now, that's kind of the high level. So just to repeat, the biggest things here with the close is exude confidence, simplify the decision-making process, and then number 3, make recommendations to reinstill confidence in the client to fully commit and buy from you, because that ultimately is the name of the game here. So how does this all sound script-wise? So let's go over this together, and I'm going to walk you through how I would do this if I was pitching a prospect in front of me or on the phone. At this point, I know that they're qualified. I know what they want. They want a final expense plan. I know how they're going to qualify. I've already worked all this stuff out. They know me, they like me to an extent, and they probably pretty much trust me if I've gotten this far. So I've got a lot of the things in my advantage like we were talking about earlier. And I know which company I'm going to choose them with and a good chance of what they're going to qualify for. So it sounds something like this script-wise. So Mr. Jones, now that I've asked you these questions and kind of know where you stand, let me tell you exactly who I'm going to start you with as far as your program today and how everything works. So the company that I can qualify you today is ABC Life Insurance Company. ABC Life Insurance Company has been in business since 1860. So, I mean, we're talking 160 years now, right? They've been in business. And they're an A-ranked company by the AM Best Company. That just means that they're financially sound, they're not going broke, and they have a great track record of being financially strong and paying claims like we all want when a life insurance company. The program that I can qualify you for them is called the Immediate Solution Final Expense Product. Again, this program is the best option for you. It's exactly what we described about earlier. The rates never increase. The coverage never decreases because of age or health. And you are fully covered from the first day, no matter what happens for natural or accidental death from your first payment. The reason I'm recommending ABC Life Insurance Company to you is because you told me you've got a touch of COPD, right? And the truth is the vast majority of carriers will not fully cover you if you have just a touch or full-blown COPD. Many of them will decline you. Now, some of them will take you, but many will make you wait 2 full years before you have full natural coverage. The beautiful thing about ABC Life Insurance Company is this product, this program they have that we're going to start today, gives you first day full coverage from the first payment. So God forbid something happens and you're gone. After that first payment, your family is fully protected. They have peace of mind. And if you were my mom, this is the exact plan that I would recommend if she was in the same circumstances as you. Makes sense so far? Perfect. Okay. Now, side note, off script here. If I'm selling this over the phone, I'm going to verbally give the prices and have them write them down. But for the sake of the camera, and because I can use it visually, I'm going to show you what I would do in person. So at this point, I'm going to go give them the prices I quoted them. So let's say we quoted 100, 150, 150 to 200, okay? So I'm just going to quickly write down some prices here. Mrs. Jones, just give me 1 second here. All right, so here are the prices. I physically go over if I'm face-to-face to sit by her, okay? Like now we're across the table. I'm going to come over beside her and sit by her and show this because this is important information. I'm controlling the prices. I'm showing her what they are, and I keep control, as you'll see, pointing out which ones are the options that I would recommend them. So here's how this looks. So imagine I'm sitting next to her, okay? So Mrs. Jones, here are the 3 options that we can qualify you for today. We've got the 150, the 200, and then the 250. And you can see what the coverage is, 10, 15, and 20. My recommendation to you, Mrs. Jones, is to either pick the 15,000 or the 20,000. Whoops. And here's why I recommend that. Remember we were talking about early how you're concerned about leaving enough behind to take care of your funeral and how expensive things have gotten, especially with how inflation has just caused everything to go through the roof and will continue to into the future. If you get the 10, which is fine, the main concern I have, it's not going to be enough when you most need it. And you need to have enough coverage, not just for today's prices, but for tomorrow's too, right? So my recommendation, Mrs. Jones, again, is to either pick that $15,000 here or the $20,000 here plan. So which program do you want to start with today? Off script, zip. I can't stress enough, don't say anything after you show the prices. Now we're going to break down some of this budgeting here in a second. Say nothing. If you say something, it disrupts the pattern of thought the prospect's going through, and they'll begin to lose doubt because they haven't thought through this and through their confusion and concern that they need to think through, and you lose control. So if you got to sit quiet and it takes minutes and you're just like ready to rip your hair out, do it. I don't care. I bought a van for my wife years ago, a Honda Odyssey, and I had a pro salesman, and me being the salesperson, I wanted to test him to see how long he'd wait for me. So he showed me the monthly car note, and I was like, all right, I'm going to see how long he can last without saying anything. So I sat back for what seemed like 5 minutes, and he didn't say a thing. I was impressed, and he got the close. So, yeah, you got to be quiet. Got to hold your mouth, hold your tongue. Just wait for that person to say something. Okay, so let's go back and kind of dissect some of this here because really important, some things that we did. So notice how I explained the company. Did I go into detail with the financial records and the balance sheet and all that stuff that's just a snore fest? No, the client doesn't care. Why? Because they're doing business with me. I'm the reason they're buying, not ABC Life Insurance Company, okay? It's me. They're going to do what I tell them because I care about them and I've showed them that I'm the expert, right? So I don't put a lot of emphasis on the company. Now, where I do place emphasis on the company is making sure that they understand why I'm picking them. Because let's face it, again, some of y'all out there in the internet world have sold final expense and the client doesn't even know what they're doing and they're just like, who is this with again? Oh, okay. And it's just funny. It's like, we all know once you have this experience, the companies don't matter. It's your relationship with the client and your ability to convince them and have them believe in you, right? That's why companies need us. If they could figure out how to get rid of us, they would. But they need us because the agent is the driver of the sale here, okay? So the point is, I bring up the company name just to show them who it is. I show them a brochure if I'm in person. just to provide some tangible evidence of what they are. I tell them how long it's been around and what their AM Best rating is. I might not even mention their AM Best rating. The length of time they've been around is good. That just shows the client that it's older than they are, so in many cases it is, most cases. So it's got length of time, it's trustworthy, etc. But the big thing is the recommendation. I connect why I'm telling them to buy this company with what their health is, okay? This is really important, guys, okay? Because you need to be able to justify their emotional belief in me with logic, facts and logic, right? So the facts and logic here are, hey, you got to touch a COPD. Ain't nobody going to touch that, no pun intended. But this company will, at a great rate and at better terms, meaning more coverage faster than the other guys. What I've done with there is the client's going to trust my word at this point. I've built that kind of rapport, right? And when I do that, they're validating in their own mind logically their emotional urgency to buy, right? Thus giving them more conviction and confidence to purchase, right? What if they're healthy, Dave? Well, then just say, hey, I'm choosing this company because they're a great company. They're very healthy. They're great pricing for healthy women or healthy men, whatever the thing is just give them some kind of reason that's true as to why you're selecting that company for them. I select the company. That's another thing. I'm not showing them a million options. I'm not trying to confuse people who are easily confused. Just this is what you want. Buy it from me. And here's a reason why you should, right? Then we go to the pricing, okay? And then on the pricing, pretty straightforward, right? I showed them 3 different options. Again, I'll show you this real quick. We showed them 3 different options. Besides that scribble up there, I mean, the sheet of paper should be clean. You don't want distractions and other things on there because they'll be thinking about this and they'll start reading the other crap and they're like, oh, wow. Oh, whoops, money. Don't give them that, okay? Focus their attention on what matters. Get a clean sheet of paper, write it down. Again, if you're over the phone, just verbally walk through each digit in the face and the premium and have them write that down so they have it in front of them, okay? And then I tell them which one I recommend. Pretty simple, right? So out of these 3 options, I recommend this or that. And notice in this case, I recommended the better or best option. And notice what I did. I explained why I recommended it, right? So I'm recommending this because of something we would have talked about in many of our sales presentations. We talk a lot about inflation, how you need more than you think you do. We build the need higher in our strategy that we teach at DeFord Insurance Group with our final expense agents by talking about inflation in a way they can relate to and understand, and with the outcome of them believing they might need more than they thought. What the TV said I needed 10,000, but this is interesting. Maybe I need 15 or 20. So this helps us elevate our case size a lot higher because of it. And I'm suggesting what I believe truly is the best option. Maybe it would be the 10,000. That would be fine if I thought in my mind as the expert that it was. But in this case, for the dynamics of the presentation, I thought it was the better and the best option. So you want to tell your clients, here's the options, and you want to tell them which ones you recommend. Don't be bashful and don't worry about recommending the bigger one. That's fine if you can justify why you do. The outcome of all of this is even when I make that recommendation, what do? I say, out of these 3 options, Mrs. Jones, which one do you want to go with? So I still give them the option of making a decision. Yeah, right, exactly, Don. Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm still giving them the autonomy of making their own mind up, right? And then how the close works, which one do you want to start today? Do you want to start a plan today? That's wrong. Why? Because you're asking permission. We don't ask for permission. This is a sales call. You assume that you got it, and you let the client object if it's a problem. So the close is which one of these 3 do you want to start with today? And then you shut up and let the thing happen. Okay? It's that simple. It's that simple. Now, a couple of things here I want to clarify. The 3-option close. We've explained how it works, but I want to give you some pro tips, some advanced training that I think would be really good. And by the way, if you enjoy this content, hit the like button if you haven't. Help YouTube share this with other people, other agents who might need closing strategy training that won't get it. So hit the like button if you don't. Now, here's the thing, and one thing I didn't mention here. Again, 150, 200, 250, and then 10, 15, 20, just arbitrary numbers, made them up. In this example, what I would have done is we ask a question in pre-qualifying where we get a budget, and the budget we start with trying to get is 150 to 200. So in this example, I got it, but notice the best option here. What's the best option say? The best option says 250. Well, wait a minute. You said you did a budget of 150 to 200. So I did a really good interview with Ryan Lodi, beginning of this year. I think it came out New Year's Day. It came out on the first Monday of January. It's really good to listen to. And then the context of talking with Ryan about what he was doing and how he's been able to just sell a ton of business. Young kid, does really, really well. Has the whole world, just has a lot of potential. So I wish him the best. He said he started elevating his case sizes. When he closed like this, he would say, would you consider more? He had a different way of saying it. But many times, yeah. Because here's the thing. Our clients only know what we show them. They may think that all we've got are $10, $15, and $20,000 plans here, guys. They don't know we could go to $25,000, $30,000, $35,000, right? They just buy what's shown to them, okay? So what we do with our budget, so if the client says 150 to 200, the way we teach it at DeFord Insurance Group is we used to do it 150, 175, 200. So the top end would be the top budget. The low end would be 150. The middle would be 175. What we do now is we do low is the same, 150. 200 is the middle, not 175. We just get rid of 175. And then we go an interval higher to 250. Why do we do this? Let me explain why. First of all, psychologically, people just generally pick the middle. They don't want the worst. They don't want to spend the money to get the best, so they pick the middle. So we've stacked the cards in a sense to where the middle, instead of being 175, like in this example, if this is the budget we got, is now 200. So for about half the people out there, they'll still pick 200. They'll still pick the middle. And we've given ourselves a $25 raise on those plans that they pick about half the time. So we're making more money just by how we dispense of the budget range. The people who always pick the lowest are always going to pick the lowest, so that doesn't really change that much. Then there's probably about 2 or maybe 3 of them that are going to pick the highest one, right? And what do you guys think when your clients pick the highest one? I can tell you what I think right away. I'm like, dang, maybe I could have sold more. The greed glands get going. And so what this does is that for those people who would have picked 200 as the highest, well, now they'll pick 250, that 1 out of 10 or that 2 out of 10. And there again, with that third price point, you've now elevated your ability to get more out of the sale that much more. You went from 200 to 250. That's a huge net income increase. And so I think the outcome to all of this is the way we display the prices to the client ultimately increases our net income. It increases the money in our bank account without, and this is the beauty of it, without pressuring our client to do it. Because if it doesn't work, they'll still pick the 150. And remember, we know that they can afford 150 to 200 in this example. Now, sometimes it might be 50 to 75, right? So in that case, we do 50, 75, 100, good, better, best, right? But the point is we're not outside of their range for all of the pricing, just for the best one. And that's reserved for the big deals, the people who really want to buy, that maybe we underestimated. And then now the middle goes a little higher. It's beautiful. And it results in higher average cases. Guys, we've implemented this. We have really high averages on cases. I mean, like 800 to 1,000 average case sizes with some agents using this strategy, and especially the inflation strategy. Again, we'll talk about that tomorrow on the pre-qualifying. No, it's Ryan Lodi, L-O-E-D-E. You go put it into YouTube, put Lodi DeFord. You'll see his content. Definitely worth a watch. So that's how we end up with the budget, and then we zip our lips. The client picks what they want, and the close from there is very simple. Great. That's a great choice. Congratulations on picking that one. I think that is the perfect choice, Mrs. Jones. Whatever they pick, that's what I say. And then my close is great. Which one? Who do you want your beneficiary to be? And I'm looking down. We'd have paper apps and write it down, but I'll write it down on a paper and then open up my application electronically. And I'll start to fill out the e-app. Most of us are doing that these days. And then that gets us into the application. By asking who do you want the beneficiary to be after they pick a choice, it gets you off the pain of that of investing their money, of spending their money, right? There's anxiety ridden, right? Sometimes making that decision. Well, I'm making a commitment, can't go back, right? So I want to move them off the pain of the price and the pleasure of helping the person they want peace of mind with, right? And that's it. That's close. Of course, we're going to walk through the application, qualify them on the phone. We do a cool down at the end of the presentation. And simply put, that's 3 to 5 at the end of the application completion when it's approved. That's 3 to 5 minutes of talk of anything other than what just happened. You want to leave on a good note. You want to remember them, have them remember you as a positive, caring person that is likable and trustable. And people remember emotions. They don't remember logic. You know, I can think back to my stepmother growing up, and I got a few choice words for her growing up, but I can't tell you why I thought that way. But I can feel that hate, you know, of her, right? Not hate, but like that just, you know, disgust, you know, disdain, right? So that's how people are. It's how we all are, right? And so we're purposely going to just talk about things they're interested in, maybe stuff that you talked about rapport building. And when you hang up the phone or leave, they're like, man, that's a cool guy, man. And that's kind of building a wall around your prospect, right? So that it's a harder time for that other agent to come in 3 months later and try to unseat you. Okay, last thing I'll talk about here, and guys, if you have questions of any kind, closing, final expense related, anything else insurance related, throw them into the chat here. I'll get to them. Last thing I want to just walk through real quick here is objection handling, okay? Because you're going to get objections. It is part of this business. Now, I believe with a proper opening, like what we teach at DeFord Insurance Group, you shouldn't get very many objections, okay? But you will get them anyway because some people slip through the process, and as you're learning, you're not going to do everything perfectly. So part of this is knowing that objections are going to happen. You got to be prepared for them and have a strategy. I'm going to tell you the scripting word for word here in a moment. But the main thing with our strategy, I'll say this, is that you have to understand, again, psychologically, why do people object? It's usually trust issues. It's their doubt. Doubt is related to trust issues or a lack of faith, you know, or maybe they're just hiding something. You know, we don't really know. But a lot of the times it is a trust issue. And you've got to go back and, again, like we talked about, confidently exude your belief that this is the day to take action. And what they're about to do is the best decision that they could do right in the moment that will, for years, benefit their family members upon their passing in a way they can never imagine. So you got to reinstill the confidence to buy. So there's a couple of process here. We call it the Ask Objection Handling script. It's not exactly perfect for the close, but I'm going to walk you through kind of how I handle objection. And this works for anything that's out there. So first of all, you want to seek clarity, because if you show the prices and they say, I need to think about it, well, that's not their objection. That's a smokescreen. We don't know what they mean by that. It could be true. It's probably not. But we don't know what that specifically means. So one of the best things to say script-wise is the following. Hey, that's fine. But when you say I need to think about it, how do you mean? And you want to say that in a way that's non-threatening, non-pushy. They're expecting you to push back, right? How do you mean is powerful because it allows the client to explain themselves in a non-threatening way. The goal hopefully is, well, you know, they're going to provide some level of specificity as to why they're not committing. So maybe they say something like, well, I don't know if those prices really work for me on second thought. I just don't think I can afford it. So now we've got to isolate the objection because we've got some specificity, right? So the script to isolate the objection is something like, hey, Mrs. Jones, that's fine. Besides having concern about pricing, is there any other thing that's kind of holding you up from making a decision to move forward? Is there any other issues you're having besides price? So the idea here is we're just going to isolate the problem and to give us confirmation that, hey, like everything else. So what you're saying, Mrs. Jones, besides the price, you like everything you see. You like the plan, you like the product, there's no problems, you like what you see. It's a good deal. Yeah. And then at this point, we do a commitment ultimatum, an if-then conditional. Okay, so Mrs. Jones, basically what I'm hearing is that if we can fix this price question that you have, then you don't see a reason why you wouldn't move forward today. You're all on board if we can get the pricing where it needs to be, correct? And they're going to say yes to that because they've just admitted that's the only problem. Then at that point, we just sell them on what we need to. And again, it's going to vary by the type of objection, right? And convince them to buy. So with the price, it's easy. You just say, hey, Mrs. Jones, look, like I said earlier, I don't want you to buy and not be able to afford it. Let's drop these prices down. Let's start with something that's affordable. We can always look at something later. So what's your thoughts? And I would go back to the budget and say, okay, well, if 150, 200 doesn't work, what about 75 to 125? Yeah, I could do that. You could definitely do that? Yeah. So great. Here's a 75, and I just do the same thing. 75, 100, 125. I believe you should pick either the A or B because I want you to have the most affordable. You said it was. Which one of these you want to start with today? Then you just go back to closing them. And that's an important thing here too, guys. When you rebuttal these objections, the most oft missed part of the rebuttal is the closing statement, or the closing question. Which one do you want to start with today? So don't go through all this stuff and then lack the conviction to close it, to be committed yourself to the end. And commitment means you have to ask for them for their business. You have to ask them, what are they going to do today? Which one are you going to start with today? If you don't do that, you're going to miss a lot, probably the majority of these situations where you're ending up in some kind of objection rebuttal sequence, okay? So again, let's go through this again, just to walk through the process. Number one, seek clarity. Ask, how do you mean when they give you an objection? Isolate that objection. So besides XYZ, is there any other issues you're having with the product? Okay, nothing. So in other words, you're saying you really like what you see today. This actually is really good for you. It works for you. It's just the XYZ or whatever it is. That's the problem, right? Yep. So what? Okay. So again, make sure I understand here. What you're saying is if we can fix XYZ, if we can get it to where you want it to be, you're all in. This is for you. You're going to get started on this today. Is this what I'm hearing? Yeah. Then you know what to do. You've been empowered with the information of what you need to do to overcome that. Then you need to go to town on explaining the price or the value again. And many times it's just a lack of commitment, guys. And sometimes you just got to go back and say, hey, look, you told me you need this, right? Remember how your brother died and didn't have life insurance and how terrible it was trying to figure that out? Yeah. And remember how you told me you didn't want your kids to do the same thing? Yeah. Well, let's get started with this because this is the best plan for you. This is going to give you the peace of mind that you deserve, and it's going to take care of your kids exactly like you want them to. Which one of these three plans you want to start with today? So that's kind of how I would handle it if it was just general malaise. They're not pushing back on price. Maybe they're just stalling. We need to, again, confidently rebuttal it and then close. Okay? All right, and remember, confidence at the end, confidence at the close, confidence through the rebuttal, that's what makes all the difference, okay? And that's how we close business, guys. Again, to kind of wrap this up, guys, this is not a big deal, okay? Closing's not a big deal if you just follow the fundamentals of what I talked about and if you really do well opening and pre-qualifying. That's where the magic happens in this business, at least from a sales perspective. And when you get good at pre-qualifying, you just don't really hear objections anymore. The objections you hear are, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my kids about it. You can overcome that too. That's just a stall. You can get over that, and I can explain to you how I do. That's basically what I just said. You said you needed it. Let's do it. Let's go. You said it yourself. I know this is a big commitment for you, but it's good for you. You said it yourself. Let's get you started on this. You need peace of mind. Who do you want your beneficiaries? But I just cut through the BS is kind of the strategy at this point in my life. But that's it. Don't stress out about the close, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't a big deal. So questions about the close. I'm just going to go through the chat here today. Hey, Danielle, thanks for being here. How you doing, Eric? Hey, Andrea, how you doing? Hey, Kevin. Bet it's nice in Florida. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bill. What's going on? Hey, now, Philip. No call. I never got a message from you, man. davidford.com/contact. Send a message. And then send your phone number. I'll figure out a way to get to you. All right. Okay. I don't know. No questions? Wow. Don, Sears room, the old days. Yeah, good, better, best. Yeah. It's old-fashioned, but it works, right? You don't need the fancy stuff if something works, Fundamentals are the fundamentals, That's how we kind of approach the business. You don't need you just stick to the things that work, right? And the fundamentals definitely do. All right. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to cut out since we don't have any questions. I hope you enjoyed this. Please plan to stick around tomorrow, again, at 4 p.m. Eastern. We do it every Tuesday and Wednesday, at least in 2022. And we're going to be talking about the other part of closing, which is way more important than this training, and that's pre-qualifying effectively. So we're going to go into detail about that. how to spend less time with deadbeats and more time with quality prospects. I think that's something we all want to know more about, right? I certainly did when I was a new agent. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Please join if you can. Of course, it'll always be recorded. And if you'd like to learn more about joining DeFord Insurance Group, I do recruit agents nationally. I just don't do this for fun. I do give out most of the training for free. Go to daviddeford.com/FAQ to learn more. Hey, Dinaz, you're one of the first insurance influencers, if not the first. Great. Yeah, I started in like 2014 or 15. I think How Insurance Group is around. Most of the people you see today weren't. Cody, I think, started. You can go look at Cody. I think Cody started a year after I did. We were neck and neck for a while, and then he finally overtook me on the sub count. I'll be back, Cody. Watch your back. But yeah, I've been doing this a hell of a long time. Still selling life and health today? Great. Just stick to it and keep it simple. That's what we try to do as much as we can. Yeah, and thank you for smashing that like button. Again, I don't need the validation. I just want this to be shared with other people, and this helps the YouTube algorithm do it. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I enjoyed your time. I appreciate you more than anything. Thank you so much for your support.